Alright, so for today we're making my shepherd's pie that I make with turkey, ground turkey, or as my husband likes to call it, Pilgrim pie, because it's made with ground turkey. So I thought that was really cute, so I'm going to stick with that name, Pilgrim pie, because I always make this with ground turkey. I don't like to use ground beef. I feel like there's just too much oil that comes out of it, and I don't usually buy ground lamb so to make shepherd's pie. So we're making Pilgrim pie today. Garlic, onion, carrots, and celery is all the chapaging that we will have to do. I'm just gonna start off, before I start getting my eyes all watery, probably start off with my carrot here that I'm gonna just dice up into small pieces. You can buy already diced, like frozen carrots, because we will need some peas as well, but I have frozen peas that I'm going to be adding to this. So I am just coming in here and cutting this up into strips, julienning it, and then I should use my Nakano knife because I can get such a clean and easy cut with that, but that's like one of those special knives that I pull out on special occasions. But I'll show you here. This is my Nakano knife. They sent this to me. And I will leave this link down below because it's just such an amazing knife. I'm always cooking. I'm always in the kitchen. And I just like a good knife. You know, when you're doing something all the time, sometimes it's worth it to just have a little bit of, a little extra special something. So yes, a knife, a good quality chef's knife. If you're in the kitchen all the time, or if you know someone in the kitchen all the time, you know someone who's now beginning to love cooking and stuff like that, it's definitely a great gift this time of the year. I will leave my link down below to their website. So I am just cutting up my celery as well as going to do my onion and grate my garlic. The celery and the onion I'm going a little bit finer than the carrot because I wanted to break down a little bit more in the meat just so that it lends its flavor without leaving too much chunkiness in the meat. So I'm just dicing that up really fine, and then I'll grate my garlic, which is about 4 cloves or so. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mash up my ground turkey here. This is 2 pounds. They were both 90/10. I don't think it really matters. Of course, if it is like 85/15 or anything like that, you'll get less meat and more liquid. I'm just mashing this up, and then I will gonna mash it up, wait for it to start cooking down, and once it starts releasing a lot of liquid, because it's gonna release a lot of water and liquid and stuff, I'm gonna then just cook out most of that water, most of that liquid. Drain if you need to drain, especially if you're using ground beef or something, because it will be a lot of fat unless you use more of a leaner beef. But then I'll add in my veggies, because I don't want to add in my veggies now and then lose all that flavor when I cook down all the liquid and or cook or drain, you know what I mean. So while that is going over there, what I have here is some potatoes that I have cut up into chunks, and small chunks, about 1 inch by 1 inch or so. That way it will boil faster and I'll get a really nice smooth mashed potato out of it. 1.5 inches or so. I didn't obviously measure with a ruler to put it away here. I didn't measure with a ruler the exact amount. But either way, some nice chunks of potatoes in some water. I'm gonna boil this down until it's fully cooked through. It may take 15-20 minutes just to get that going. And then we'll mash that up and I'll show you what I do with the potatoes. Looks great. I'm gonna wait for a little bit more of that liquid to cook down because there's still quite a bit of liquid in there. I could drain it. That just means more dishes for me and a chance of me getting burned because I'm extremely clumsy. So I'm not going to drain it. I'm just going to wait for the heat to do what it has to do. And I didn't do any draining or anything, but you can see how that's cooked down. We're just going to add in our veggies now. Everything. Onions, garlic, carrots, everything. So make sure and clink that plate while you're doing it. Next item, I'm going to add my salt and pepper. All right, I'm seasoning this with salt and pepper, obviously to taste. I have some poultry seasoning. I like to add this. It just adds a little bit of flavor to pretty much anything that I'm cooking. But I'm just adding, this is completely optional. Obviously, if you don't have it, you don't need to add it. But I just added in about a quarter teaspoon, quarter to half a teaspoon. Maybe a half a teaspoon because this is 2 pounds. So it's been a couple minutes. I'm just gonna let it go for a little bit longer. About a half a cup of peas. Again, no specific measurements. It's just if you like more peas, add more peas. And about 2 tablespoons of ketchup. Oops. About 2 tablespoons of ketchup. The ketchup adds a little bit of sweetness to it. And then I'm going to add in Worcestershire sauce. About 2 tablespoons of that as well. Just for a little bit of extra flavor. Just a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm going to make sure and stir it in first so we don't see any of that flour. And this is chicken broth. You can use any kind of stock that you want. Just until it lightly coats the meat. That looks great. I don't want to fill it up too much, but just till everything is kind of coated with the liquid. Not completely covered in liquid. That looks good. I'm going to let this, cover this and let this cook now for a little bit. Let this go for about maybe 10 minutes or so. Then I'm going to remove the lid and let the remaining bit of broth or stock, whatever you're using, just kind of evaporate it because you don't want too much liquid. My potatoes are boiling over here beautifully. Gonna let that do its thing and then show you guys the next step after. Great, so it has been about 11 minutes or so. This is great. I'm just remove my lid. There's a little bit of liquid in there. I let this go for a lot longer than 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes. But anyways, you just want to let it go for about 5 minutes. This is great now. I just removed my lid. I'm going to turn my heat off. And I turned my heat off on my potatoes. I'm going to let this drain it and then mash it and stuff like that. Alright, so I have drained my potatoes and I'm mashing it really well. I'm going to add in a couple tablespoons of butter. This was about 3 potatoes. 2 of them are pretty big, so about 3 to 4 potatoes. I'm also going to add in some milk. You can add all your milk in at this point or half of your milk, which I'm adding half. I added salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Garlic powder for me really adds a lot of flavor, so I really want to add the garlic powder to this. I'm also going to add in some sour cream, as well as I have my Gouda cheese here that I'm going to grate in about a half a cup of Gouda cheese. You can use any type of cheese that you have, but I like to have Gouda on hand. Grate that in and mix that up. Now, if you've added on all your milk, your potatoes are ready to go on top, but you can also add some egg yolks, which I'm mixing in here with some eggs with some milk. I'm mixing that in really well until fully incorporated, and I'm going to add that in and carefully but quickly mix it into my potatoes. Completely and totally optional. You don't have to do this step. You can use just 1 egg or 2 egg yolks, or if you really want to not waste the egg, you can use 2 eggs. But I feel like 1 egg or 2 egg yolks works really well. You're going to slowly but carefully mix that in. I will have all the amounts listed below. The thing with the potatoes is you do want this to be very liquidy because it's going to bake in the oven for about maybe 25-30 minutes or so. So it's going to firm up in the oven. You don't want overly dry potatoes. So it's going to look like a soupy mashed potato, which is what it's supposed to look like. You don't want it to be too dry because it's going to bake for a little while, and all those flavors are going to be incorporated. But the most important things for me when making this potato is that garlic powder and that grated cheese, and adding in some sour cream really gives it flavor. So it's not just like eating baby food. I think that's why I'm not a huge fan of mashed potato, is because without a lot of flavor, it's just too much like baby food. I am just layering this now with my meat at the bottom and pouring my potato soup on top. I'm going to bake this at 350 for about 30 minutes or so, and that is it. some of the liquid from the meat will come up into the potatoes. That happens regardless. But this is why I like to use ground turkey as well, because there's less fat. I feel if there was more fat, it would be more oozing. But the potatoes have set beautifully. The meat and everything has just become just one. And we serve this with cornbread muffins. Super easy, super delicious meal. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next time. Bye.